Today we're going to be making a sturdy sliding box that you can customize to fit whatever object you want to put into a box. I'm going to walk you through the pattern drafting process for this kind of box, so let's get started. You will need scrap paper that can be cut from a paper bag, cardstock, which can be recycled packaging, a pen or pencil, ruler, a cutting mat, an X-Acto knife, a boning tool or a credit card, and double-sided tape, and of course whatever object you are intending to wrap. So first I'm gonna disassemble this paper bag so I can use that material to make a mock-up. Because I didn't want to continuously move these 6 rectangles of watercolor around, I traced the dimensions onto a piece of paper so I could just have that paper as a guide to gauge how much space the watercolor trays would take up. So whatever object you have, I recommend tracing the footprint of it so that you don't have to constantly move the actual object and you just have this handy guide. Just for your information, I'm cutting out 2 different shapes because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a more vertical or more square looking box, and I ended up going with the more square looking box. I'm taking inspiration from this perfume box that I have, and I'm transferring some dimensions to this guide that I'm about to show you, because there's some dimensions that I maintained just for the frame, and there's some that are specific to whatever object you have. If this white box is your object, then green is going to represent the footprint of your object, and pink is going to represent the height of your object. So if green is the footprint, we're going to draw the dimensions of that green rectangle onto our guide paper. And we're going to just draw some guidelines that are 1.5 centimeters around the perimeter of this green footprint. Now we can draw a more solid line indicated in orange, and this represents the base of our box. Now we're going to measure the height of our object indicated in pink. In my case, the height of my object of the watercolors was 1.2 centimeters, so I'm just marking 1.2 centimeters away from each side of the orange box. Now you can add quarter circle tabs on each corner. Next, I'm drawing guidelines that are 1.5 centimeters away from our last edge. I'm also going to drag out guidelines from our main central green rectangle. Next, I'm going to draw a trapezoid on the top and bottom using the intersection of guidelines like so as the endpoints. Next, I'm going to draw 2 vertical guidelines on left and right that are 2 centimeters away from the pink. I'm going to grab the guidelines from the top and bottom of my green rectangle. This next part, you're probably going to have to pause. You're going to follow the guidelines that we just made to make these orange shapes on the left and right. Next, you'll draw 3 rectangles on the right and left that correspond to the thickness of the pink and following the same guidelines as the orange. Next, draw a pink rectangle at the top and bottom that are the same length as the small side of the trapezoid. And we can add 4 tabs as indicated in the orange. I'm going to add guidelines to the protruding rectangles on the left and right sides so we can measure another guideline that's 2 centimeters away from that. We're close to the end, so now we can use our orange to mark out a rectangle completing the right and left sides, as well as a 2 centimeter wide rectangle at the top and bottom. And that's it. This is your fully laid out plan, so you can take a screenshot if you'd like. Using those guidelines, I'm going to first map out those dimensions on my paper bag that I broke down. And this way I can have a mock-up that I can adjust any measurements if I need before I put it onto my thicker material. After all that measuring and drawing, I have this on my paper bag, and I'm just going to cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Be sure to have a cutting mat underneath for this because you don't want to scratch up your table, or in my case, I'm working on the floor, so make sure you have a mat. Now we can figure out how to fold all of these lines. I have our original plan slightly dimmed so you can see marks that I do on top of it. So anything that I mark in this light blue color, we're going to cut. Anything in this bright yellow color, we're going to do a mountain fold. And anything in red, we're going to fold a valley fold, or we're just going to fold the red towards the center and the yellow away from the center. So just to show you with a physical product, this is where I'm folding down as a valley fold, i.e. I'm folding along the red line right now, right? So it's folding towards the center. To me, the hardest part are the left and right sides because we have that slit in the middle of a fold, right? So we're only folding it partially. And the ideal is that when you scrunch it up like I'm doing right now, it should show a hollow rectangle, and that is when you know you've done it correctly. So I'm just going to show it a couple more angles in this point of view so that you can sort of understand what it's supposed to look like. I will not lie, folding this is a struggle, but once you fold your mock-up, you'll be able to fold the real thing. The other tricky part is that you'll need to fold the tabs that you cut on the top and bottom into the hollow rectangles that you just created. So I think I show it the clearest here. I'm taking this tab that I'm pointing to with my right hand, and I'm folding it down and into that hollow rectangle that we just created, and here it is up close. So we do this flap and tuck method so that the box interior is pretty seamless for the most part. So this is my mock-up, and I felt like I was pretty happy with the dimensions, so I felt confident to transfer that onto my harder cardstock material. Now here's my harder cardstock material. It's just a recycled box from another product that I bought. So I'm just placing it to make sure that for the most part I have enough surface area to cover the pattern piece that I've created. You can use a combination of tracing and using your previous measurements to get all of your marks transferred to your nicer material. To get the folds down, you can use a boning tool like I'm using here, or you can just use the edge of a credit card. Now I'm just using some double-sided tape that is in like kind of a whiteout format to tape down all of my flaps. You can use normal double-sided tape or even glue if you'd like, but I feel like glue would wrinkle a little strangely, so I would recommend double-sided tape. And with the last flap glued down, we can finally put our objects inside, which in my case are my watercolors, and thankfully they fit. Yay! The hard part is done, and now we just need to make a sleeve for our sliding box. I have some scrap paper from another bag that I cut up, and I'm just gonna make sure that the height of this sleeve matches my box, and I'm just gonna make sure it is able to wrap around. For my sleeve mock-up, I'm doing the same thing. I'm folding it first, and I'm making sure I'm happy with all the dimensions before I cut into my nicer material. I'm pressing the folds with my boning tool to make sure the folds are nice and crisp, and I'm gonna double side tape this sleeve together while it's around the box, just so that I get a pretty snug fit. But make sure that you leave enough room so that it can still slide out. And there you have it, a sliding box for whatever your needs are. Let me know what object you decide to put in your box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.